Hi, welcome back to Kirk's Bees, home of Jack's honey. In our previous video, not the one right before this, we assembled the wood structure of our frames. Well, we decided to make a little change here because looking for eggs on this color is very, very difficult, especially when you're drawing out new brood. So I found some foundations, black. But what we didn't go into was what to do before you just go putting them into a hive. So today, that's what we're going to be focusing on. Let's get on it. Okay, I like this thing about being mobile. It allows us to come out here and do things that we don't have to be in the shop for. So we're just outside the North Bee Yard here, and there's a lot that goes into the frame other than just assembling the wood. You can do foundationless. If it doesn't get too hot, no problem. Your cone won't melt and collapse. It won't start sagging, and you won't end up having a bunch of problems. However, it gets hot here. I've seen temperatures higher than 110. So we use plastic foundation in ours. There are other foundations that you can put in, but this is what we use. But there's a lot more to it than just taking the plastic and putting it in, because bare plastic, bees won't want to draw on it. And they do come with slightly wax, some with more wax than others, but you're not really for sure what you're going to get. So what I've done in the past, like with these, is I'll take my beeswax and I'll scrape it on, and then I'll take these and I set them out in the sun. Doing 5-6 frames, hey, no problem. It doesn't take up a whole lot of room. But when you're doing more like 18 frames, which is what I'm doing today, you really don't have the time or the space to do that. The black would make it go a little bit quicker, but like I said, we really don't have time for that. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you how I prep these foundations. If I can get it out of here. For going into a frame before we put it into a beehive. So what I do, because I don't have access to a kettle that melts my wax down yet, so what I do is the next easiest method: scrape it on. These things act just like sandpaper, and it's so easy. You know exactly where it has wax and where it doesn't. The bees will smell beeswax and they'll love it, so always get it from a trusted bee supplier. That way I don't end up with disease and other things. Later on, when I start rendering my own wax, then I will use that instead. See, it goes super quick, and it doesn't have to be even or anything. If you have them out in the sun for a little bit, it even makes it go even faster. It just makes the wax soft. Probably don't want to set it out too long. You might end up with a puddle of wax at that point, especially if it gets really hot like it does around here. Probably not a good idea to set it out for a long period of time. This is just 5-10 minutes. And it's going on really quick. So, ta-da! I use a plastic one plastic one, which I'm going to be taking these out of my hives because when they get hot, they warp. It gets too hot around here for plastic frames. Other places you can do it and it works just fine. So that's the only reason I'm going to start taking those out of my hives. They're all warping. It's gotten too hot here. Just make it look all pretty. There we go. So that's my little waxing board. Works great. I like it. So this is what we assembled time before. And what I like to do is I like to have something that holds it for the next step. So I guess this is the step in between the next step. Put it inside that, there's a cutout piece here. I'll just stick it in here. And there's another one on this side of the frame. Be careful you do not pinch yourself. I've done it, well, I don't want to say how many times I've done it because, well, okay, let's just say I've done it so many times I should have learned by this 15th million time. I just say I've done it a lot. So some people, you do have this option, it will work equally as well. We'll take the frame and just slide it in at this point. Some people want their wax a little bit more melted. Usually I'll use the sun if I'm not doing a whole bunch of frames. But in this case, we're doing a whole lot of frames. 18 to be a little bit more precise. So what I have here is a heat gun. Now you want to be careful. Do not melt the plastic. And it does not take much to do that. And it doesn't take much to heat the wax down either, especially on a black surface like this one. And I'm not going to try to melt it all because, like I said, I don't want to melt my board, but it is melted. It'll melt that wax first. I just want to melt most of it anyways. Doing it outside, so I got a nice breeze going on. I got ventilation underneath the frame. I'm not putting the heat gun too close to it either. You can also use a blow dryer if you don't have a heat gun. I was doing some other stuff with a heat gun and that required the heat gun, and that's one reason I ended up purchasing one a long time ago. The other reason you don't want to get it too close is wax is flammable, so you need to keep that in mind also. And that's good enough. Anything, all the specs and stuff is just where it's really thick, and the bees will work with that. This side will go a little bit quicker because the plastic is already warm. See, there's so many different methods for putting wax on foundations. Everybody kind of has their own little method and stuff. Since this is plastic down here on my tailgate, I'm gonna be careful. And as it dries, it'll start turning milky again. And pretty soon you may not even be able to see it, but it is very evenly waxed now. The bees are gonna love this. So, like I said, we got a lot of them to do. So I'm just going to do a few of them here. Some of them have more wax than others. I'm not too picky because they, like I said, they do come pre-waxed. And I'm just adding more wax to it. It's about the equivalent of dipping them 2 or 3 times. but I really want it to sink down into the cells. It's the only reason I'm melting the wax on it. As some people say it works better. Some people say it doesn't matter. The bees, what they care about is that it has wax on it. Because if there's no wax, they're not going to draw on it. They're not going to like it. Like I said, I don't care if it's still yellow or anything like that. That's fine. Look at that. Heat gun works really well. I like the heat gun. I've done blow dryer too. It works equally as well. Just blows a lot harder. You have to turn it down some, but it will get hot enough to go ahead and melt the wax for you. Look at that. Beautiful. Turning a little milky. It really does a beautiful job. And see, while this is kind of milky and stuff, go back and look at this one. Now that it's cooled off, it looks almost black, completely black, and like you expect them to come out from being ordered. Everything's very evenly coated. So it actually does a beautiful job. And with these black foundations, seeing the eggs in the brood is going to be absolutely fantastic, which is exactly what I'm looking for. The beekeeper's job is never done, especially when you're doing bulk amounts of frames, because then you know that your work is never ever done. I should need a little bit of heat on there. Be very careful with that plastic. It does bow it from the heat. The heat causes the plastic to expand also. Just remember, if you're doing this and you have to call the fire department, you didn't do it right. Okay, now you got frames that are waxed, a good thick layer of wax on there, with foundation, wood assembled frames, ready to go into the hive. But what's a safe way of carrying these? I've tried several different things to keep them from falling all over the place. One thing I do is I alternate them back and forth, just alternate them. But then, so I'm going to alternate these two, but then I checkerboard them also, back and forth. And you will find that they're so much easier to carry. It's when I worked this little system out, when I first got when I first started beekeeping, I first got my beehives in, and so I was like, tried carrying them, and I was dropping them all over the place, and then I got pinched a few times. I was like, man, there's got to be an easier way to do this. Carrying a whole bunch of frames at one time without them falling all over the place. I just want to be a little bit more secure, you know? So I just alternate them back and forth, and they sit flatter. I absolutely love it. You straighten them up this way too. They're less likely to fall over on you. A little bit neater. Just like that. You push them all together and make them as nice and neat as you like. I know, like, when you watch beekeepers, they like to keep their hives corners square and all nice and neat. Well, why can't you do that with your equipment too? You know, I like to do that. Not all the time, because I get lazy about it, but I mean, I gotta be brutally honest about it. I do get lazy about it. So that's all we got for today. There's a little short video, but sure was a lot of fun, wasn't it? I've hopefully a new beekeeper learned something. They can get their own frames, put them to assemble them instead of having to buy pre-assembled frames. Learns a little something about foundations, and what might work best for their bees. I mean, it's honestly, you got beekeeper choices and you got bee choices. Some bees, they don't like plastic. Some bees, they love plastic. That's whether they draw on it or not, that is completely up to them. That's their choice. As far as the color foundation, that's our choice. That's the beekeeper's choice. So, I mean, it's at that point, if it's the beekeeper's choice, like color the hives, then it's totally your choice of what you do and what works best for you. But if it's something for the bees, then it's up to them. And they don't mind plastic in my hives, so I use the plastic foundation, and that really works best for us. So I'm making my choice. I'm going to black foundations. That way I can see the eggs and the brood a lot better. So till next time, we'll see you later. Be sure to hit that bell, like, subscribe. You got more videos soon to come. This is Kirk with Kirk's Bees, home of Jack's honey.